The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Thanks for being with us. It is first and 12. It's first and 10. I mean, that's how we get it started right here. We'll be right off the bat here. First and 12. Your Sunday morning breakdown of the Big 12 the day after. And in a couple of hours here, I guess just short of an hour, we're going to be getting those new rankings from the AP voters. And interested to see how this goes. Although if you're looking at it, with BYU's win over Arizona yesterday, not a lot of movement in a lot of the teams in front of him, Mitch Harper, and so I don't think you're going to get a huge jump in the rankings, but you're still going to see BYU move up, and at the very least, even if you don't get a bunch of losses in front of you, you still showed the country that on a big noon Saturday kickoff with the folks at Fox and being on Big Fox and being in the middle of the day and everybody watching that thing. My brother from across the country goes, is it really that pretty in Provo right now? I mean, he's also going through like hurricane weather this week, but he looked and he goes, does it really look like that? I said, absolutely. It's 85 degrees. Not going to get the same treatment on Friday, I think, when Oklahoma State comes to town for BYU. But the game that shocked everybody, and by the way, our program brought to you by Macy's. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your local favorite brands, Macy's. Happy shopping. Utah with the loss at Arizona State, Mitch. We're just absolutely blown away by it. Here's your Utah football breakdown from this week. Let's get right to it.
The Utah Utes post-game analysis.
Utes fall to Arizona State 27-19. They dropped to 1-2 in Big 12 play. Now, before we dive into this, Alex, is this a grand scheme by Utah to just say how strong the Pac-12 used to be by losing to Arizona
that's what they
and
wanted,
Arizona State, and the lone win is against one of the legacy members of the Big 12? I'm just saying. But in all seriousness, Arizona State came out and, look, ASU did not play their best football either. This was in stretches an ugly football game from both teams, banged up quarterbacks on both sides.
Right.
Yet Arizona State had a little more pop in the backfield with Cam Scadaboo, who had went for 158 yards on the ground, 22 carries, 2 touchdowns. He also had 4 catches for 41 yards. He was everything for the Sun Devils, and there were some questionable decisions late by Kyle Whittingham from fourth downs, and, of course, the Cam Rising situation took the cake in all this. But it was a bit surprising, but this Utah team continues to struggle, and they're falling to new lows this season.
Yeah, and I think that the biggest one was you just know that Cam Rising's not there. I mean, I don't know what play it was. It was real early on, must have been the 5th play, but it was in that first series, I think, when he got his leg rolled up underneath him and he's limping around. So you're already kind of like, all right, well, this guy doesn't look right. He's wearing the glove on the throwing hand. That's not good. I know he was taking a lot of those reps. And then they just kept looking over the sideline. The camera just kept being like, anyway, here's your QB2 in Isaac Wilson. And he was looking, fresh as a daisy, but they're not putting him in the game. I don't know what the situation is there. I wonder if there's a little bit something extra there, even with Isaac Wilson. Wondering if he's maybe not necessarily 100%. They made that decision halfway through the week to put him or to have Cam Rising take all those reps before they ended up hitting the road to Arizona. Steve Bartle came on our show this week and said, they immediately said, hey, he's going to be the guy, and they had him take all the reps before that or in that final walkthrough right before they got on the plane to go down to Tempe. But they looked absolutely terrible. And 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions for Cam Rising. He obviously wasn't just not himself. He just was, 43% completion. No, he 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So, Mekhi Bernard, this is a guy, we talk to him every week on our program, Mitch, and he was the lone bright spot. It wasn't just that he was in there and just he looked like he was fresh. He looked like he was popping. He looked like he was the one with the legs turning. What's shocking to me, and you brought it up last hour, was that defense, which is the signature, that calling card for these Kyle Whittingham teams and these Morgan Scalley defensive teams. they looked really, really bad, and they looked really young. As I really think that's what I'm seeing here is they're asking so much out of these freshman guys. But even guys like Lander Barton, who you're used to being these sure tacklers, Cam Scadaboo made that defense look really bad, and he was. I mean, you should the whole conference needs to be on notice with Cam Scadaboo. This guy has come relatively out of nowhere. I mean, he had a couple of 100-yard rushing games last year for this team, but guess what? No one cared because it was like, no, it's a bad Arizona State team. Cam Scadaboo is one of the better running backs in this league right now, and in a league that we did not think he was going to be even in the top 15. So it was the whole thing was a shock, and Arizona State beating Utah, and they're 5-1. It is an absolute shock right now in a year of a lot of shocks in the Big 12, right?
Yeah, no question. And the thing is, there was a stretch in the third quarter where Cam started to look good. He completed 4 consecutive passes. He hit Money Parks, I think, for a first down. Then he hit Dorian Singer. But outside of that, it was a lot of hit and miss. And there was a pass late where even the TV crew, Andre Ware, it was an attempted ball to Dorian Singer where it just didn't have any juice behind it, no velocity, and the footing on the field, like he couldn't get his base there to have that power. And Cam was a big liability at stretches for Utah to the point where I felt like you got to turn to Isaac Wilson, and it does pose an interesting thought of, is he nicked up? And they clearly have no trust in Brandon Rose or Heward at all. So it's a situation right now for Utah where, if Cam Rising is nowhere close to being what he once was, when he was taking down USC in the Pac-12 title game, do the wheels fall off on this Utah season? Because that was the hope, was that when Cam is at his best and when he's on that, or just being on that field, he just changes everything mentality-wise for Utah. But I thought the play calling was puzzling at times. I thought some of the Wildcat play calls with Keithy in the red zone were confusing.
It felt very desperate.
They had to settle for too many field goals, too. I mean, they had visits. How many times do we hear on the TV broadcast, this is the 7th time they've got inside the Arizona State 30? I mean, but it was a very telling stat of they had many chances, but they had to settle for field goals or late in the game. When Whittingham, it was about 9.5, 10 minutes to go, he goes for it on 4th down. Utah was saved because ASU made a puzzling 4th down decision on their own right, and Utah got the ball back, but still they couldn't convert, and they were nowhere close to the sticks when Money Parks went down on that 4th down. So it was just and I just think that maybe Utah was hyped up a bit too much, and they were not ready for this stage of playoff or bust and the clear-cut favorite in the Big 12 because they weren't ready for that stage.
What's interesting now is look at the schedule. You have a not very good TCU team that's coming into Salt Lake City. Then you go down to a not good Houston team. It should be a good stretch to be able to kind of get right. But I think really you have a couple of teams who are like, hey, man, we need to get right. And we're smelling blood. Everybody else in the conference who's not very good is able to get a couple wins. I mean, they lost to Arizona and then Arizona State. You did not have that on the bingo card going into this year. And Utah fans have obviously voiced their displeasure on this one, too.
TCU, though, can score points.
Yes.
And, that's the thing with them is TCU can put up numbers. So the way that Utah's offense is operating right now with Cam and what they did in Tempe, they'll lose to TCU. It's because TCU, they're always good for a game where they can put up, 40, and you just hope it's not them. I don't think that would happen against Utah. But the way that Utah's defense is not tackling, I just, if they are not dialed in, because what's also, we haven't talked about this yet, they came back from a bye week. Utah is typically money out of a bye week after a loss, too, where, Whittingham puts the fear of life. Like, this is a loss. Like, this, you have to almost reevaluate your life after a loss. And it just didn't really phase this team where they stumbled out of the gates in Tempe and looked pretty much like they did against Arizona 2 weeks prior.
All right. They're going to have to figure it out, and we're going to take another break here. We'll come back. We're going to listen to Kalani Sitake, his weekly dip in, and his post game. Kalani is trying to keep it together and act like everything is just I would just imagine him coming into those press conferences. And, Mitch, you're in those rooms, but we'll have to listen to Kalani and see how, on the one hand, they are absolutely flabbergasted. Well, they're not shocked by how they're performing, but Kalani and his reaction to that win over Arizona yesterday. You can take a listen next. We'll come back. More to go. It is 1st and 12, brought to you by Macy's Happy Shopping. It is the best local, freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your local favorite brands. Macy's Happy Shopping. We'll take that break. Mitch, Harper, Alex, Kirry, happy Sunday to you right here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone and on KSL News Radio.
Today's just the start of the Big 12 and Power 5 talk to come. Listen to JJ and Alex Monday on your drive home. Afternoons from 3 to 6 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The vibes are high right now for BYU football. It's 1st and 12. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry with you, and it's brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's Happy Shopping. Head coach Kalani Sitake, he was very excited after the Cougs reached 6-0, take down Arizona. This was Kalani in the post-game press conference.
And got our 6th win of the year. Really excited about the things that we saw from our team in all 3 phases. Obviously, there's some things that we know we can fix, but we'll worry about that later, really, and we can probably talk about some of it here. But going to keep evaluating, trying to find ways to get better. Just have to give a lot of credit to the boys, the leadership on the team. I mean, this is a fun weekend. I want to thank the Rock and the fans that had so much energy today. It was a lot of fun, man. And so, again, it was the stadium, the atmosphere, the environment was so electric. It was fun. It was just really cool to be a part of it. And glad the guys got the W. We'll keep trying to get better every week, and in all 3 phases. Just love the response from the boys, and good to have some guys that were back, specifically the running backs. Good to have LJ and Hinckley back. Hate that Hinckley fumbled on that last one, but it's all right. We'll learn the lessons from it. But it wasn't perfect, but, man, it was good enough for us to get the win. Wish Arizona best of luck. Brent Brennan's a good friend of mine. I love him. I think he's doing a great job with that team. I think they play football the right way. I think we had the advantage being here and making some big plays. But I think there's tons of talent on that team, and definitely got the best out of us in this game. And now just looking forward to learning from this, getting better, and trying to get incrementally better next week when we have a short week against Oklahoma State here at home on Friday. So what questions do you guys have?
What message did your team send with statement number 6 this week?
Yeah, I mean, I thought there just seems a lot of people kept talking. I'm not just talking about you guys, but everyone's worried about the bye week and coming out flat, things like that. I think that's what everybody wants to talk about. But I thought the guys, we had some momentum. I think that's probably it's natural to think that when you have a week off for it to be a little flat and maybe not be as fresh as we've been or as executing as at a high level. But I think the approach that we had last week was different than what we've had, and I think we're going to stick with that. So we have another bye coming up later in the year, and I think it's proven that we can get the most out of our guys and we can keep some momentum going too. But it's just nice to get some guys healthy and get them rolling. Really proud of Bruce Mitchell stepping in and playing center, man. The guy's been amazing at center and guard, and the O-line's done a great job. And so just a lot of really good things from this game, and just really proud. We're going to be excited and enjoy the win, go to church tomorrow, and then get to work next week.
What does LJ add to you guys offensively? Can you take some pressure off?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I think, and then when you get some positive runs, I mean, even if guys are if guys are unblocked, he still finds ways. Him and Hinckley do a good job at that. And I think all the backs do, but at creating runs and making people miss. But he has tons of experience, and it's just good to have him back. It's good to have the whole running back core back to play for us. So that's I'm saying as a head coach, it's nice to see those guys out there making plays, especially when they have so much experience.
Was the plan to
On that play that Jacob Robinson made to start the second half, where does that rank among great defensive plays you've seen? And also, was that from the film study where you decided to do the corner blitz right there?
No, we always have those blitzes dialed up and ready to go. I think that Jacob's done an amazing job always getting ready for the games, and then he just has really good instincts. I think you guys seen him for many years now, just making plays, and that's the only thing I can say about that one is just score next time, you know. but yeah, what an amazing player and a great leader. So like the things that he does with his leadership and he's just you guys have been around him, a soft-spoken guy, but man, he makes a lot of noise when he's on the field and makes a lot of big plays, and we're just really proud of him. I'm really proud of him being able to do that and and you know, just kind of set the momentum for the rest of the game.
How deep is the specials playbook for Parker Kingston? Feels like you guys can turn to that well. He got his third career touchdown.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the throw, that was great. I thought he had a great catch on that. I mean, Parker's a really good player, tons of speed, great athleticism. You saw what he can do when on that muff punt, you know, that he turned into a touchdown a couple weeks ago. But he's a big-time playmaker, and you know, he was a high school quarterback, so he can do a lot of different things and throw the ball. And I think the Baylor game was kind of an ugly throw, so I think he wanted some redemption on it. And so I think he got it, but we'll see. Those are great weapons when you have guys that can do that, and you have an offensive coordinator and an offensive staff that's willing to just dial things up and have the team ready to roll and make big plays.
Is LJ your clear-cut starter going forward at running back?
Yeah, I think we use both those guys. You know, looking at the way the game goes and keeping those two guys, and then we have a bunch of running backs that we can go to. So,
two guys, you mean Rapati as well?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's 6 guys that are named Orr, so I'm not going to tell you who's going to be running the ball, but you know, we're just happy that they're all healthy. You want me to like give you a percentage of breakdown on runs right now? We just barely got them healthy again, man.
Were you trying to ease him into the game at all? He had like 5 touches in the first half and then more in the second half.
Yeah, I think so. But I think the offense was they were moving the ball. I just decided to go for it on that 4th down, opening drive. Probably should have kicked the field goal. That was all on me. That was my decision, and I might have maybe even. I mean, I don't have to go watch the film, but I think the play was there. Maybe we just didn't make it. But next time, if we don't feel good about it, just kick the field goal and take the 3 points. I guess that's a good lesson for me to learn.
Only 5 catches for Teteroa McMillan. How impressed were you with the secondary and covering him up, and what was the strategy behind defending him?
Yeah, I mean, he had that one long one of 39 yards, and that was tough because I think it was a breakdown in coverage more than anything and technique. But we weren't trying to focus on him completely. We were just trying to play ball. I think a lot of times when you try to take away the major weapon, you end up sacrificing something else in defense. And so we just try to play more assignment sound defense and play with great fundamentals. And then you know, I think it just worked out the way it did. But the hard part was that Noah Fifita can run, man. He can make people miss, and he just extends the play, and it's just so frustrating. You know, I don't know how many sacks we got, but I know how many we missed, a bunch. You know, and I think you have to give him a lot of credit for extending plays. And so I look at the coverage down the field that we had when he extended the plays. We were actually trying to cover, and I think he got some spots where guys are open. It's just hard to cover for that long, and he's always going to be a problem when he can do that. And then you have T-Mac and other great players that they have on their team, and it always becomes a problem. So I'm glad that we were able to only give them 19 points. That was good for us, and you know, we can. I talked to Jay right after the game, and I know that he's frustrated because he sees some things that we could fix, and we just have to remind ourselves, just have fun and enjoy it right now. We'll fix it, huh? Yeah, he was talking about the 5th and the 6th that we should have had. So that's how Jay works, and I appreciate him. But I think that you know, that's what I love about our staff and talking to A-Rod and the rest of the group. They know that there's some things that I don't know if the tablets are really that good of an idea for us in that our coaches want to see the mistakes right away, and I think it gets them in a weird mood. They get down, and it's like, guys, we just want the game. It was a great win, but I do appreciate their professionalism and wanting to get back to work. But I think it's okay to take a deep breath and enjoy it for a little bit too, at least until tomorrow.
Kalani,
I'll get back to you too.
Kalani, looking at your second scoring drive, it was set up by Tanner Wall's interception on the 1-yard line. How important was it for you guys to be able to drive 99 yards in 7 plays at that point when you were tied 7-7?
Yeah, I like I like the entire drive because there's some really good things about discipline where our guys were really. I think we drew them off sides a couple times, and then I just like the play selection. I like the momentum that we were getting, and I just like the toughness from the team, man. I think this defense gets the most out of you, and you have to be physical. And I like the response from the O-line. I thought Jake made some good decisions, and I thought we were able to do some really good things.
How critical was that stop that Arizona that you guys got overturned on first down in Arizona? Did you talk to the refs
On which one?
The one where
with his knee was down?
How did that get overturned?
I mean, I was saying the knee was down, but I'm biased, so I don't know. It was one of those things where I'm glad that we have the replay, and I'm glad they were able to look at it and see it. But I don't have the best. When I'm looking at I'm biased, so I'm always gonna be, hey, that's not a catch. That is a catch, or that his knee was down. So I think we're all just pointing it out, and it just happened to we were right. So I'm glad it worked out. But I mean, this is the fight in our guys, and I'm really proud of the way the guys fought, the entire team, and it's a lot of fun.
I was going to say that the 4 takeaways kind of reminiscent of the Kansas State game where you had takeaways that kind of compounded after each other. What does your defense do well to kind of feed off of a turnover that we just had?
Yeah, I think if everybody just does their job. And we saw some moments, especially on third downs, where guys were trying to do too much, and it cost us. And so this is a good lesson for us to learn, but you just can't keep doing some of the things that we did. I don't know. Let me see the third downs. What were they? 11 for 19. I mean, it's okay, but I think we had a lot of third and long, and it was just kind of frustrating because we knew everyone just does their job. We had a little bit of guys freelancing here and there, but I think that can be expected sometimes. But if there's any questions, let's just do our thing. Just do the fundamentals. I think we can tackle better. All the fundamental part of the game is going to be the key, not the scheme. And we have enough talent that we should play good, clean football, and we should be in a really good spot.
Very subdued Kalani. Look, he if you want a guy who is acting like they've been there before, that's the guy. Yeah. And it's all good in Provo right now. From what I can tell, the injuries don't look like a lot either, which is another big victory for Kalani and his guys after this one. So we'll get right back to it again this week as BYU prepares on a short week for Oklahoma State, who's going to come in very, very, very cold weather on Friday, looks like. So we'll take the break here. We'll come back. We've got more to go. We've got tons to break down. We'll get your sound roundup. We'll get your the power rankings. We'll also get you what the rest of the week looks like in Big 12 play. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry, it is your 1st and 12 right here on a Sunday, brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store, the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your local favorite brands. Macy's, happy shopping. More to go right around the corner. Stay here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone and KSL News Radio.
The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. 1st and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
Alex, I don't know what it is, but maybe it's just a weekend after hearing a lot of Gus Johnson where I just want to go, ha, the Big 12. It's football. It's America. It's KSL. It's the Sports Zone.
Something's happening in Provo.
There's some special brewing. There's a 6-pack Cosmo. He's dropping them fire knives. It's America. It's Fox. It's the Big 12.
You're Gus Johnson. There's a guy on Instagram that does the Chris Collinsworth. He just goes, oh wow! Like everything's just about Patrick Mahomes just being in love with him. Oh, what Patrick Mahomes? It's just like, this is special. And he just laughs the whole time. Oh, my
down the sideline, Jake Retzlaff.
And then he'll go, a touchdown, Wildcats. You're like, geez, dial it back a little bit. Gus Johnson. You didn't think you were going to get a bunch of Gus Johnson impersonations on Sunday morning, but welcome to it. Yes, 1st and 12, brought to you by Macy's. Happy shopping, everybody. Mitch, let's jump in a little bit. This is one of our favorite segments, and there's always a little bit of bickering back and forth. It always takes us a minute to really kind of figure this out, but it's our weekly Big 12 Power Rankings. Let's just get right to it.
The Big 12 Power Rankings, a weekly rank of all 16 programs, from the elite to the bottom dwellers.
The elite for the third consecutive week, checking in at number 1 as we dive in to the new edition of the Big 12 Power Rankings here on 1st and 12. BYU checking in at number 1 once again, 6-0, 3-0 in the Big 12. Cougars are flying high after that dominant win over Arizona.
You know, and I think people who do push back a little bit at that, and they'll go, yeah, but what about Iowa State? They're more consistent. They're the ones that are pretty scary. The reality is that BYU has kind of by far the best resume of any of these teams. On top of the fact that they're undefeated and they're 3-0 in conference play, they have the best resume. And as Kansas State continues to win, as SMU continues to not – I mean, SMU is as shocking as anything to me. And the one loss that they have is to BYU, who, by the way, held them to 0 touchdowns. All they do now is score touchdowns by the Grundle every game. And so they are there's a reason BYU's at the top, and until further notice, they're going to be there for a while. I mean, you can't help but keep putting them there. Iowa State is number 2. Kansas State, after sneaking out that win in Colorado, Kansas State is one of the tougher teams in the conference, Mitch, and I think that them at number 3 is a good spot. I'm interested because the Texas Tech being at 4, they're an undefeated team. They didn't play this week, so that you always get kind of dinged a little bit when you don't move at all because you just didn't do anything. But Texas Tech hasn't lost a game in conference, and Kansas State has. So is it just because we're not used to putting Coach McGuire and his guys anywhere near the top because we're like, well, we've been fooled by this guy before?
To me, it's a situation where Kansas State, their lone loss is to team number 1. And, yes, it was a blowout loss, but the bounce-back performances since have been really impressive from Kansas State. And, you know, Texas Tech to this point, their wins are ASU, solid win, Cincinnati, Arizona. I just don't think there is that marquee win yet for
They got that
for
overtime
Texas
win against
Tech.
Abilene Christian. Don't forget about that, Mitch.
And the thing is, too, is that I do believe Texas Tech's defense has gotten a lot better, and that was a big question coming into Big 12 play. But I still want to just see a little bit more because, you know, I feel like the offense from Texas Tech has done enough where they've had games where they've been the Texas Tech of old with Leach and when they were flying high with Cliff Kingsbury and Graham Harrell. You just tried out all the names from back in the Big 12 South Division days where they were just a perennial 7-4, 8-5 team every single year.
Right.
But I still want to see just a little bit more. Maybe we won't have that answer clearly until, you know, maybe November when they take on Iowa State. But as long as they keep staying the course and winning ball games, hey, Texas Tech's going to control their destiny, but I still want to just see a little bit more from them because when you put bring in everything together, there's still a little bit more questions compared to the 3 teams above them.
Arizona State is 5 after the win over Utah. You could maybe even make the argument that they should be up a little bit higher, but again, they have a loss in conference play. Colorado at 6, West Virginia at 7, and West Virginia, we're like waiting for them to be better than they have been. And that's a tough one because I do think that they're better than a lot of these teams that are on here, but they just have had weird moments. They've had a tough schedule. And their 3 losses have been against pretty decent teams.
Well, not only decent, undefeated teams.
Right.
You know, they are – so West Virginia has played a gauntlet of a schedule. They played 2 of their rivals in non-conference. It has been a difficult schedule. I mean, I know Penn State – this weekend. But, you know, West Virginia is a good football team. They just a little bit missed opportunity, though, at home against Iowa State. Underwhelming performance, I thought, from the Mountaineers. I didn't think we'd be talking about this team in the middle of the pack in the Big 12. I've been kind of sleeping on them for a while, but Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback for the Bearcats, Cincinnati checks in at number 8. Sorsby has been a pleasant surprise. This offense is much better than I thought they would ever be this season, and Scott Satterfield's turning things around in year 2. they got a top 25 passing attack in college football, Cincinnati, and I did not see that coming. So Cincinnati, they are trending up, a number 8 team after taking down UCF on the road this weekend.
Arizona 9. Utah is at 10. We've hit double digits with Utah right now. And part of
Is
that
that too big of a fall?
No, because look at the teams in front of them. Arizona, they just lost to them. Cincinnati, better than we thought they'd be. West Virginia, tougher than we know. Colorado is 4-2, but it's like a different direction trending 4-2. Utah went 4-0 and have lost 2 in a row. And right now, it doesn't look like the ship is going to get righted anytime soon unless they can figure something out miraculously with the health of Cam Rising. Baylor 11 in a bye week this week. Houston also didn't play, but they're at 12. TCU is 13. Oklahoma State 14. Oklahoma State, of course, still looking for their first win in conference play this season. They're 0-3 in conference play. UCF may be the biggest shock to me in terms of teams that are at the very, very, very bottom. But, of course, the one that's shocked everybody and continues to be really, really bad. Even in their bye weeks, we barely thought about them, the 1-5 Kansas Jayhawks. So there you go. There are the power rankings, Mitch. I think we got it right again this week. It's another week that we kind of jammed on all this. It's getting harder and harder because the middling teams, it's a lot of teams in the very just squarely planted in the middle. They don't feel like getting worse or getting any better.
It's going to be interesting to see, this upcoming week, what Oklahoma State does at quarterback, if they continue with Alan Bowman coming out of the bye, or if they go with Garrett Rangel at QB. Some real interesting questions there. Houston's got a little bit of momentum after that breakthrough win with Chris at quarterback, and UCF is fading with their new quarterback situation. And Kansas, will they, they showed signs of life against ASU before the bye, but still, they go then on a bye, and are they going to bounce back after 5 consecutive losses? What's fun about this league is that even those bottom teams, you feel like if they get it right for 60 minutes, they could win. I mean, we're talking about this conference every single week. It was amazing this past weekend. We don't dive much into the Vegas lines, but every game was about a 3-point spread, and that is just hyper competitive, and it's almost NFL-like with how close those spreads are. Yeah. No league provides that level of parity and competitiveness, and so these teams at the bottom, yes, it feels like, their records aren't good, but don't be surprised if they spring an upset on one of those teams at the top if they can get it right for one day, and I think that's kind of the fun aspect of this conference.
Well, let's take another break here. Our program, as always, brought to you by the good folks at Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your local favorite brands. Macy's, happy shopping. We'll take a break. We'll come back. When we return, we've got a peek into what next week looks like, and the schedule gets more interesting as we start going along here. So just stay right here with us. It's First and 12. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry, right here on KSL News Radio and on the KSL Sports Zone.
Read all the stories about BYU sports no one else has heard. Go to KSLSports.com for exclusive columns by BYU insider Mitch Harper. That's KSLSports.com.
All right, everybody, welcome back. First and 12, right here on a Sunday morning. Thanks for being with us. Alex Kirry, Mitch Harper. Yes, you can hear Mitch Harper on Cougar Sports Saturday. Cougar, what are you guys tomorrow night? Taking phone calls from the happiest fan base in all of the Big 12? Is that what's going on?
Actually, Tuesday night. We've got a
you're going to move around
on Monday. So we'll be on Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. So
my favorite, getting booted for politics. It's good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
That's sometimes on news radio we gotta
get booted
the time
for
of
politics.
The year.
It's the time of the year. It's that season.
It's a real time. It's a real struggle this time of the year.
Don't do it, Mitch.
Politics. It's true.
I'm not gonna go down there. You can't keep going. Gus Johnson. That's what I'm gonna miss this week. We gotta have Gus Johnson doing more BYU and Utah games, man. Oh, that'll be a good one though. I don't know what that BYU and Utah game is gonna be. Do we know what that's going to be broadcast on on November 9th? Do we have any?
Well, I know Gus Johnson, and he's a dear friend of mine.
Good guy. He's a good guy.
I put in some calls, but no, I would imagine if BYU keeps winning, that you got to think, maybe Big Noon could be in the cards, maybe. Maybe a Fox game. I think that, because it's a rivalry, it's one of the few games in this league where, regardless of Utah's record, whatever the records are, it's going to
give some preference
be a
to
big
it,
deal. So, and putting the game in that weird November 9th date, I think the TV network's got to deliver a marquee TV window because you don't put it on November 9th unless it's going to deliver a big TV audience. That was the plan all along. So I have to think now with BYU, if they stay undefeated, that could be something pretty big. So I'm curious to see that as well. We'll find out here in a couple of weeks when BYU and Utah kick off and what TV network. We'll find out the Week 9 schedule coming up tomorrow. So BYU, UCF, and games like that. But Week 8 schedule around the Big 12 Conference this week starts early with a Friday night game. BYU back in action at home. Going to host Oklahoma State, so the Vampire Cougs roll out at 8:15, and it's going to be cold.
Yes, it will.
Temperatures in the 30s coming up this Friday night, so bundle up. But the Cougs going to host the Pokes with revenge on the mind after last year's loss in Stillwater.
Yeah, you go from the bye week where you have all the time in the world to prepare to a short week, which is what BYU is going to have to figure out. And Oklahoma State's coming off of a bye week, so we'll see how they do. And it would be just like Mike Gundy to show up and give the absolute, just go right at Kalani and those guys. And so you can guarantee BYU is going to be ready for that one because they cannot have a letdown of any kind. They got to keep it rolling. Arizona State goes to Cincinnati. You pointed this out, Mitch. This is one of the games you were really excited about when Arizona State came to the league. I can't wait for them to play Cincinnati over there in Cincinnati.
That's where this 16-team league, and I've loved it so far this year, but it's matchups like that where
it gets weird.
This is really weird. Like that,
it's your
Skyline Chili and Mill Avenue.
It's your Washington at Rutgers Big Ten matchup where you go, oh, of course, this old game. Right.
Yeah.
Houston at Kansas. I don't even know what these are two of the worst teams in the entire league, and I could still see Houston showing up and going, we got nothing to lose. Let's go beat Kansas and Lawrence, man.
I think I would pick Houston in that game. Colorado at Arizona, two teams that looking to bounce back, 2 p.m. on Fox. Coach Prime, doesn't matter if he loses. They're just always getting the marquee TV windows. But Arizona, they're struggling. They can't, punch it in the end zone. The last 2 weeks, they get down the field, but then they stall. So let's see how they fare against Colorado. We'll be monitoring Travis Hunter's status, too, as that's huge for the Buffs going forward. If they don't have Travis Hunter, they don't have a prayer against anyone, in my opinion. So they've got to get him back for his Heisman hopes, but also for their team to, bounce back from the loss and try to get in that Big 12 title race.
Battle in the state of Texas between Baylor going to Lubbock and Texas Tech. And, of course, Baylor is that wounded dog trying to figure their lives out. They're coming off the bye week, and Texas Tech is as well. Texas Tech is undefeated in league play, weirdly enough. UCF goes to Iowa State. I don't know. I mean, UCF is just an absolute head-scratcher right now, and you just have to imagine that Iowa State is the picture of consistency, which UCF is not.
That I agree with. And Kansas State, are they just always on the road in Big 12 play?
It seems weird. West Virginia is hosting everybody these days, doesn't it?
It really feels like that. Like that. Kansas State going to host West Virginia going to host Kansas State 5:30 p.m. next Saturday, and then Big 12 after dark. So the schedule starts this week with BYU on Friday, and then after dark, go down 45 miles up north to Utah as they host an old Mountain West rival, TCU, 8:30 p.m. ESPN. Those were some great memories. Utah and TCU 2008, where Utah had a close battle with the Horned Frogs 13-10, and then TCU hosted them on College Game Day. I think it was 2010, or 2009, excuse me. And then that 2010 game, the blackout jerseys that Utah had, where they lost it. I think it was camo jerseys, but there's been some good matchups over the years with TCU and Utah. I don't know if those memories still carry over to this edition, but feels like, am I wrong in saying make or break game for Utah? They lose this one, man. Season could just get out of control.
Well, and on the flip side, TCU's kind of got nothing to lose because they've been so bad that Sonny Dykes is going, look, I got to figure out how to keep my job here. Let's just go in there and play loose. Utah's wounded. Let's go in and just let's embarrass them at their place. And it would be no more Big 12 thing than to have TCU show up at Utah and to put it on Utah, who is, trying to figure their lives out, man. It's a crazy time. All right, so those are your games in Week 8 for the Big 12. It just gets more and more exciting every week. Mitch, that's another show in the books here for us, man. It's been fun as usual.
How are we already at Week 8 coming up? It's crazy how fast the season is moving. We're already at the midway point, but it's been so much fun. We got to thank our sponsors. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Macy's, get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's, happy shopping. Big thanks to you, Alex Kirry. Big thanks to our producer, Eric Cabrera. He does a fantastic job producing First and 12. And appreciate all of you listening to this show for making it possible. Without you, we wouldn't be doing this every week. So subscribe to the podcast. Leave a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcast. We'll be back next week here on First and 12 on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.